The trip began almost too subtly, like the calm before a storm. At 750 micrograms, I expected the usual rise, but it was gentler than I thought. I felt a familiar warmth flood through me, the air beginning to buzz, as though the room itself were charged. A soft pressure built behind my eyes, a light tingle, and then the edges of reality began to blur. The colors around me began more saturated, more alive, as if the world were breathing with me. I smiled, thinking it would be just another journey, a pleasant drift into the unknown. But then the walls shifted, not in the way you'd expect, but like they were breathing, inhale, exhale. I blinked and thought it was my eyes adjusting, but no, it was real. The walls were expanding, contracting, almost like the entire room had a pulse. I reached out, touching the surface of the table in front of me. The wood felt alive, soft, pliable, its texture changing beneath my fingertips. I tried to focus, but the air around me seemed thicker, denser. My heart beat faster, a rhythmic thumping in time with the room's strange pulse. Then came the whispers, soft at first, like voices carried on the wind. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Low, menacing. A voice just behind my ear. I turned to look, expecting someone to be there, but there was nothing. The air had become heavy, oppressive. I felt the weight of it pressing in on me. I tried to shake it off, but the whispers grew louder, sharper, more distinct. They were all around me now, coming from the walls, from the very air itself. It wasn't just whispers anymore. It was language. It was a language I didn't understand, but its intent was clear. It was demanding, urgent, and angry. It felt like I was being accused of something. I didn't know what it was, but I felt it deep in my gut. The need to confess, to explain myself, to beg for mercy. I tried to stand, but the floor beneath me was no longer solid. It was like quicksand pulling me in, swallowing my legs. I panicked, reaching for anything to steady myself. But the world was shifting, folding in on itself. The shadows in the corners of the room grew, not just stretching but thickening, pooling into masses of pure blackness. They twisted and wriggled like living creatures, moving toward me with purpose, like something ancient, something that had been waiting. The whispers turned into voices, loud, guttural, maddening. They weren't just whispers now. They were demands, accusations, screams. And then I saw them. Faces, twisted, grotesque faces, appearing in the shadows. Their eyes were hollow, yet they blinked, slowly, deliberately. Their mouths were gaping, their lips curling into sinister grins. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. I couldn't tear my eyes from them. I felt like I was falling into them, being consumed by their gaze, their hunger. The walls seemed to be closing in around me, but not in the way I expected. They weren't just moving, they were folding, collapsing in on themselves, turning the entire room into a claustrophobic, crushing space. I was no longer in my room. I was trapped inside a dark, suffocating void. I could feel the walls pressing against me, not just physically, but in my mind. My thoughts began to splinter. I couldn't hold on to them. My consciousness was breaking apart, each fragment falling away, becoming something else, something alien. The floor beneath me was no longer solid. It had turned into a liquid, a thick, viscous mass, sucking me deeper into the ground. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My voice was lost in the void, swallowed whole by the whispers, by the presence that was closing in on me. The shadows were no longer just in the corners. They were surrounding me, swallowing me whole. I felt myself being pulled down, dragged into an infinite black abyss. I tried to move, to break free, but the shadows were too strong. They were inside me now, crawling under my skin, filling every thought, every cell, until I couldn't tell where I ended and they began. The walls were no longer walls. They were teeth, closing in to crush me. I was being consumed, not just physically, but spiritually. I was being pulled into something much older, something that existed long before my birth, long before humanity itself. It was a presence, ancient and unyielding, and it was devouring me. I felt myself being ripped apart, my mind disintegrating into pure sensation, pure fear. There was no more time, no more space, just a never-ending fall into darkness. The whispers were now screams, deafening, shrill, tearing through my skull. They were laughing now, mocking me, knowing I could never escape. My screams were drowned by the void, and I realized in that horrifying instant that I had crossed a line. I was no longer just a tripper. I was part of something far beyond me, something I could never return from. And then, just when I thought I couldn't endure it any longer, the darkness swallowed me whole, and everything ceased.